Hey guys, Eric Corner here at BPIsecurity.com, weekly announcement. I skipped last week's weekly announcement because I was interviewed on Larry Snow's The Business of Security podcast. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to the interview, I encourage you to go to that website, tbos.tv/003. That's Tango Bravo Oscar Sierra Tango Victor /003. I want to thank Larry for interviewing me on that podcast. I was the second of many of his interviews that are upcoming, and I think it's a very noble endeavor that Larry's doing to reach the masses within the industry from another vehicle that allows people to see where we are with the industry, where we're going with the industry from another perspective. What I want to do with this week's weekly announcement is kind of clarify some of the things that I kind of glossed over in the interview due to time. Number one, I specifically did not want the questions ahead of time so that it didn't seem contrite. I had an idea of what Larry was going to go over based off of his previous interview with Tony Scotti, and he had mentioned to me that part of the interview was going to be on mentorship and some of the historical perspectives from the BPI perspective. So one of the first things that kind of got, I guess, skewed in the interview due to reception or internet clarity was my father's background. And I was saying that my father is 100% Hawaiian. He's pure Hawaiian, one of the very few pure Hawaiians left around. That was number one. Number two, I kind of glossed over this, but I think it kind of goes back to the whole thing when I say that timing is everything. When Vance International got away from full-time employees and started going towards contract employees, I said I was standing in the background with my licensure. I was. But here's the deal. I earlier mentioned that my first mentor in this industry was Mark Fair. He gave me my break in this industry to get me out of that gatehouse and on the street doing close-in protection. What I failed to reveal was that when Vance got away from full-time employees and go to contract employees, Mark had already elevated himself to either the director or executive or vice president of executive protection and training. When that opportunity came up, he went to the manager of that division and said, "Hey, give Eric a look." And that was the impetus that started Vance forwarding that trickling down that work to me. It was because Mark was there again at the right place and the right time. Timing is everything, and I cannot reiterate that. Now, the other part I want to go over to this in this weekly announcement is over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, I've been getting an onslaught of emails, direct messages from Twitter, guys that want to talk to me offline regarding schools. Where should they go? What school should they stay away from? Now, obviously, my first response is always going to be, you need to come to our school, go to the mtms.com page, look at the training schedule, and register. That's always going to be my first response. Outside of that, there are only 2 other schools that I would recommend because I know of those schools. I've attended one of them, and the other guy I have collaborated with on more than one occasion, and I know the product that he's putting out. So I'm not going to recommend any other schools other than the one that we have. And because of financial and fiduciary responsibilities of the people who want to go to these schools, I know that they can't always pay for tuition and or traveling and lodging to come to the East Coast or Washington, D.C. to take that school. So depending on where they are, there are only 2 other schools that I recommend. What I normally tell these guys to do is you research the schools, send me the names of the schools that you're looking at, and I'll look at those schools and say, okay, I think that may be a good fit for you, or maybe not. Maybe you need to keep looking. That's what I'll do. Now, if there are schools out there that you think that you are qualified for me to make a recommendation on, and you are in a strategic location on the West Coast or the like, forward me your information. We can go back and forth and do that. But I'm very leery of making recommendations on other schools because I don't really know the product, what they're putting out, and who's putting out that information. So I can't just say, oh yeah, XYZ school is a great school to go to because I don't know that. So just be mindful of that before you guys ask me those questions. I'm only going to always, first and foremost, recommend our school because I know the product that we put out. The instructors that teach tomorrow are the same instructors that taught 10 years ago. There's no shift in terminology. There's no shift in mindset. And there's no shift in knowledge based on a slew of different guys coming into the school teaching their own perspective of, let's say, protective driving. I teach protective driving one way. I teach it the same way all the time. protective driving operations, that is, all the time. So whoever came through our course 5 years ago is going to get the same information as the guy who came through the course yesterday. If we switch those instructors out, you're going to get different versions of their perspective of what that module is. So be consistent with that in terms of making sure that the training cadre are the same ones that you're going to get all the time. And making sure that the instructors are teaching to the mindset of the business unit owner. The owner of XYZ may feel that protective driving operations, surveillance detection, or whatever is viewed in a certain perspective. You get a guy who's coming in for this one specific class to teach it. His mindset may be totally different than what the business unit feels. So you don't want to get a hodgepodge of information and it transitions or changes from course to course. That's important. So that's all I had to say today. I want to thank again Larry Snow, tbos.tv. That's the website. You can look at all the previous interviews with Tony Scotti, Larry's first podcast introducing the website itself, and then my interview was 003. Once again, I want to thank him again for taking the opportunity to give me the opportunity, rather, to speak my piece about the industry. Once again, whenever you're working a detail, there are two protectees: the man or woman in the back right seat and your reputation. Either one get harmed, you're done.